Welcome to the Football Show on PLZ Soccer's YouTube channel. I'm Peter Martin. Hugh McDonald is here with me. We're delighted to have your company. If you get a chance, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and join the football family. It is uncensored, unbiased and unmatched 5 days a week. It's absolutely free to watch, which is, I love things that are free, Hugh.
Absolutely, aye. It's, and here we are as well, Peter, the two of us here with all our friends.
Yes.
Christmas thing, me and you are all pals, here we are.
I was going to say to you, Hugh, one off for a passing out parade for his daughter, which is fine, okay, we can live with it.
Is it fine though?
I know, exactly, especially in this season where he always likes a holiday. And the other one, I'm feeling poorly.
Chesty cough, maybe?
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know about you, but you know, when you go freelance, Hugh, there is not a day when the flu could floor you.
You know, I think I once had a morning off because I had bubonic plague. It was the late 17th century.
Yeah, absolutely. I remember that.
And that was, I just took the morning off.
Yeah. Were you writing for the Herald at that time?
I was writing at the Herald. I was actually scribbling on cave walls at that time, Peter. And I took a morning off for the bubonic plague, and that was the last time I was off.
And I have to say, that is exactly the attitude that I have as well with this. But strange times indeed. But glad that you could join us. Hit the subscribe button and you can get involved. We've got a couple of competitions coming up. One of them, of course, is our Fandex. It's a World Cup competition. There's still time. This is possibly the last chance for you to get in and win yourself a cash prize, and it's absolutely free to play.
You can still join PLZ Soccer on Fandex for our FIFA World Cup 2022 Stock Exchange game. You can play at any stage of the tournament for free, and you have the chance to win cash prizes. Buy shares in your favourite team and watch their stock price increase or decrease based on their real-life World Cup performances against the expected points tally set by Fandex. You can buy and sell as many teams as you like, as often as you like, with winners being announced after every round. The PLZ Soccer family are waiting for you on Fandex. Head to plzsoccer.com and click on Fandex World Cup 2022.
Yeah, it's been a good competition, thoroughly enjoyable, buying and selling the shares, absolutely free to play. Thank you very much to Hugh Scott, Lee Shanley, Paul Brady, Gregor, Catherine Kelly as well, who joins us from Spain. She's a big fan of Ruffy, but Ruffy's otherwise engaged at the moment, taking time off. Tommy Adams always joins us from Thailand. Thank you, Tommy, for your support over the year. I have to say, Hugh, you've been here for the 10 years with us, which
it just appears longer.
Well, I have to say, you saved my life, because in the early first couple of weeks with Ruffy, I really thought to myself, I'm not sure I'm going to survive having to continually correct it.
10 years on now.
And I've looked over it, and I'm looking over some of the shows, Hugh. We're going to put a best of the 10 years, and there's some belters in there.
I mean, we talked earlier about this, and I always remember the interview with Hugh Michael as one. You'll have noticed, see, over the years, you went through a spell, Peter. It was just like, Martin O'Neill 1 week, Walter Smith the next week, Gordon Strachan. I mean, it was just like name after name after name.
Eric Black, Steve Archibald, John Hartson, all of them. Sutton started with us. I mean, there's absolutely no doubt about it. I can remember him saying, I don't really fancy doing it, Peter. I says, well, I'm launching the company. He says, okay, I'll fly up. And he flew up and launched the company with us. And Nacho Novo, both of them actually came and launched PLZ Soccer.
Forgot all about that.
Yeah, which was really, really nice. And of course, we also at that time were able to get the commentary rights. So I thoroughly enjoyed it. Took a few quid off me, but nevertheless, it was really, really good. And lots of people have been with us for a long period of time, and we're really grateful that you've supported us over this decade. And it's something we really appreciate. So there's lots of football to talk about. So let's get into the meat and bones of it. First of all, a sad one. My thoughts and prayers go out to Leslie Dean's family. It's announced by Hearts that the former chairman has sadly passed away. In my period with Radio 4th, I had a lot of dealings with Leslie as the chairman of Hearts, and he was, a man who just loved his football club, and I think a lot of Hearts fans will look back with great fondness about Leslie and the job that he did at the time. And when you consider Romanoff, I think Leslie, like many others, can hold their head up high for the job they did.
Yeah, no, because it was, if you're talking about a club in turmoil, Hearts round at that time was absolutely acme of that. And again, he's one of these guys that Scottish football blessedly is full of, who, you know, put their actions where their mouth is and come to the aid of the club and do their best efforts and face up to all the criticism that they get and just work through. So yeah, my condolences to his family and my thoughts to them, particularly this time of year as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, don't forget, if you want to pass comment on the programme, by all means, try and keep it decent. I'm just saying that to you, Matt, because it's the first time you've veered over into the edge of lunacy. And for 10 years, we've prided ourselves on the fact that all the programme is all about people who are either journalists or pundits who've played football at the highest level for Rangers, Celtic, every other club. We've had all the guests on from right across the board. So if anybody really is looking for a completely biased show for any club in the Scottish Premiership, this isn't the show for you, and we can stand by our record on that as well. So thank you very much to all those who obviously know the score on this programme. We like to keep it as decent as possible, especially on the feed. Leon King has signed a new long-term deal with Rangers until 2026. A good bit of news for Rangers, good bit of business. Yeah, absolutely. He's had a torrid time this year. He probably come in a little bit early than Rangers would have wanted, given the circumstances, thrown into Champions League football at a very early age. I've watched him a few times, particularly with Rangers B. He's an excellent prospect. He'll be a player for Rangers, no problem at all. And keeping a talent like that for a few years at the club is absolutely vital, because, as we know, Scottish football has been raided for underage footballers over the last, particularly 5 years. So having one stay, committing an important part of his early career to a club, excellent news. Yeah, absolutely. And I think he's one of those people that Michael Beale was mentioning, that players that they need to make sure are worth a bit of money because they're playing well for Rangers. OK, we're going to talk Rangers Hibs in a moment, but here's a quiz question, and it's a tough one. Name the only 6 men to have appeared at 5 World Cups. 6 men have been at the absolute peak of their powers and been selected to play international football at the World Cup on 5 occasions. So you're talking about players that have played football over a 20-year span, Hugh. Well, yeah, it's an interesting one. You don't need to give me the answers now. I'm going to give you them at the end of it. I'll give you the answers at the end of the programme, but it's certainly been something that you get your thinking cap on with some of the players, and a couple of them I think are for what I would call unfashionable countries that you probably wouldn't think of, to be honest with you. So we'll give you the answer at the end. Let's look at the World Cup semi-finals and the final scores from those 2 games over Tuesday and Wednesday. And there you have it: Argentina 3, Croatia 0, and then last night France 2, Morocco 0. And if we can start by saying, I mean, it's a 2-0 win. Hernandez and Muani scored the goals, but all the plaudits, I think, go to Morocco. I thought they were brilliant. Morocco, I was funny that fan decks. I mean, imagine going on the ground floor with Morocco at the start of Christmas would be paid. Yeah, I think the interesting thing about that game, and the vital thing, crucial thing about that game, is France scoring early. Yeah. Because then that meant that Morocco had to change their game plan. Yeah. Were you surprised by their game plan, the way they played football? Because it was possession, it was it was decisive. They just didn't have that man in the final third. No, I wasn't, because I've watched them in the tournament and I thought technically they're very good. Physically, they're very strong as well. They had a lot of guys with what we used to call in football, in Scotland, the good engines in them. They were physically very good, fast, strong, but technically I've watched them and thought good. But the most important point in the game, as we all know, is putting the ball in the back of the net. And we've watched it in World Cup. We've watched really good performances by teams and said, God, this is a smashing team. I watched Canada, for example, live against Belgium. Yeah. And I thought, goodness gracious, Canada are a good mob. But the difference was, Belgium had Batshuayi who scores. Canada didn't. And frankly, really didn't look like scoring. I mean, they made terrific chances, and I think Morocco fell into that trap, that they have immense quality in the team, immense quality in midfield. We know right back, and we know on the wing with Ziyech, but they didn't have a goal scorer. No. And
And it's like everything else, international football, you can't draft one in, you know, you either got it or you've not.
Yeah, and the other thing about it, though, you mentioned there, I mean, they took some scalps along the way, didn't they? I mean, Spain, they dismantled Canada, and Belgium, they beat them as well, and Portugal. I mean, it was a great run. I mean, it's something that you look at the run, and it's not just about beating them. They were defensively sound, and then when they did have their chance, they took it. But France I think it was just a step too far.
I think France, if you're talking about...
Plus they had injuries, Hugh.
Yeah, the injuries, and I think if you're talking about the World Cup, there's maybe 4 elite teams in the World Cup, and France would be in everybody's list as an elite team. It's been a hugely rewarding World Cup for those of us who watched it closely. I mean, I was sitting with my son last night watching the game, and he said to me, isn't a World Cup strange when, if you were told at the beginning of the tournament that Japan's in a group with Spain and Germany, and Japan will lose to Costa Rica in that group, but will top the group.
Yeah.
You say, what? I mean, I'll get the Fandex on, the odds on that.
Do you remember a couple of weeks ago, though, that we were talking on the programme about all the negativity that surrounded the World Cup, and we were hoping, not that the message of unrest and displeasure at the way the country conducts itself, and obviously taking into consideration the people who are making these accusations need to look at their own countries, but we were hoping that the event would start to become more prominent in what it was, which was basically a football tournament. And I think we managed to get to that while not dismissing the message of unrest and the need for change.
Absolutely not, and you've got to look at that. And I've been over there a few times, as you know, so I'm well versed in the problems and concerns that are there. But I was also over there for, you know, like a week at the beginning of the tournament, and in a pure football sense, and I was talking to somebody today about it, you could tell that this was going to take off, you know, certainly fan-wise.
Yeah.
And the stadiums as well were so spectacular, and the event and you know, transportation, anything that could be solved by money was getting solved almost immediately.
I don't think it'll change the way the country conducts itself.
I don't think maybe going, that'll be the interesting one. I really don't know. I think it has changed the country already.
Yeah?
Just a small...
In what way?
A small way. Well, I think definitely has changed the Khalifa system. It's changed completely. That's the system of migrant workers' pay.
Yes.
They've come in and they've completely changed that.
Yeah. Women?
Women's a crucial one. I don't know how much it will change that, but I think though...
Attitudes to homosexuality?
They'll not change that.
No.
I think that is I think that may be change over generations, but it won't change because of the World Cup. Women's an interesting one because it's a huge problem, and again, I was talking to people over there. The Emir's wife over there is very powerful, and she is changing things for women. Like when big projects are getting built, like museum projects, it's women architects, women curators of the thing. So it's slowly changing there, but I don't think a World Cup's going to change that. And
I don't expect there'll be a stampede or any kind of lobbying if the Women's World Cup is up for grabs.
Oof.
You know, I mean, that's the point about it, Hugh. And not that we should take the moral high ground here in the United Kingdom or anywhere else in the world, because you only have to look at, you know, I think certainly the United Kingdom, you know, sectarianism is a problem. Racism is a problem. Lots of
poverty.
Yes, is a problem. And of course, when you go to America, you know, I always say, because it's a country that I love going to, but you know, Martin Luther King had a peaceful walk. It's not changed anything, and we're 50 years on from that.
If you look at America, you know, the World Cup's going to a country where the Supreme Court has just ruled against women's rights.
Yeah.
It's ruled against them. Where people, the Constitution backs the right to buy guns, to shoot gays and children. That's happening.
Yeah, absolutely.
Where a section of the population is jailed or shot by police because of the colour.
Yeah.
Where a huge tranche of the population is well below the poverty line, where the government carries out assassinations by drone, etc., etc. The truth is, in this world, Peter, nobody's got clean hands.
Yeah, not only that, there's no such a thing as sporting integrity. I mention it regularly on this show. By the way, I miss Ruffy. Because we've gone deeper than we've gone for a while. Listen, well done to France. They made it 60 years after a country retained the World Cup. We're talking, of course, about Brazil. France have got a real chance to do it. Didier Deschamps won it as a player, chance to retain it as a manager.
I know, that's incredible.
Some going, isn't it?
I think all the talk has been about Messi, how fitting it would be for, and I don't think anybody could argue with that.
Yeah.
But the player for the tournament, if you're talking about the team of the tournament and the player of the tournament to win it, Griezmann's the player of the tournament for me, by a country mile.
Yeah. I'm not sure France are the team of the tournament, are they?
I think so. I think the only time I think France have been the most impressive team. The only time they dipped was when they dropped 11 players, and I think the backstory of France is that they've been really good, really powerful, strong, attacking. They've got an incredible player up front in Mbappe. They've overcome huge obstacles to get to the final, even before the tournament started. This is a team that's come here without, it came with Benzema, but this is a France without Benzema, Pogba, who else is there? Kante, and Nkunku, the Leipzig forward.
Yeah.
I mean, this is a team that's losing 5 or 6 world-class players and has gone to the World Cup final. So I've been really the team I was most impressed with, Peter, was Brazil, watching them.
Yeah.
But France would have been my second pick.
I hope Argentina win it. We're going to talk about Messi in a minute, but I'm going to read out a number of messages that have come in. Someone who's called himself the world's greatest DJ, again, open to debate. We'll not argue it now, but he said, good to hear you mention Derek Johnson on PLZ Soccer the other day, Peter. Can you get him on as a guest? Well, I have to tell you, the moves are already afoot to get my old mate back with us. So with that in mind, I've spoken to him, and fingers crossed, DJ is going to be with us, because I have nothing but sitting next to him for 8 years, Hugh, is a long, long time, and to say there was not a day go past without me laughing heartily. It was like 2 kids in a schoolyard actually going to work. I mean, that's the best thing I can say about it. The 2 of us sat there. One of us obviously appreciated how good a footballer he was, because I think when you think about
something that's been really underrated is the passing years.
Not me. I think some people actually who are maybe of a younger generation think Ali McCoist and subsequent players after that. But Derek played for a long period of time in the midfield or the centre half.
Exactly.
He was that good. And if he'd played at centre forward, where many people recognise him as a centre forward, if he'd played there all these years, he would be the biggest post-war goal scorer. And no disrespect to Ali, who was a fabulous goal scorer, but Derek would have been miles ahead. He was that good.
We could play any. I mean, he was just a complete football player. I once saw him playing against Ajax. I think it must have been a friendly Ajax, and he did this thing where he chipped the ball. The Ajax were playing what we now call a high line. We didn't know what a high line was in those days, but Ajax rushed out and Derek just chipped the ball over there and rushed in it, took the touch, rattled it in.
Yeah, and that was another thing about him, Hugh. He had a great touch.
Well, this the thing that people forget about him, this is a kid that could out-jump Billy McNeil at the back post and score in a 16 in a League Cup final. Yeah. This is a kid that could play centre half in a European final.
If I could liken him to a player who's playing in the World Cup right now, it would be Giroud.
Yep, all right, okay.
I mean, obviously a lot of people will look and say, wait a minute, calm your jets. Giroud's playing for France. Well, Derek won a European Cup Winners' Cup final and played for Scotland, and he had a great touch. He could hold the ball in him. One of those old-fashioned centre forwards, like Giroud, left and right foot, hold it in, lay it back, midfield comes up. It's a manager's dream.
Plus could play sweeper.
Yeah, so that is obviously something that moves are afoot. Good afternoon, says John Mack. I love the show. I watch from Hong Kong. John, we're absolutely delighted that you do that. Hong Kong is absolutely ideal. Hong Kong? I've never been there. Have you been there?
Oh, aye.
Oh, you would be, wouldn't you?
Well, I was actually talking about the other day, John. There used to be a flight path into it to some airport that you had to go. The jet would go between the washing lines. Seriously.
Yeah.
The jet tilted between the skyscrapers to land before they built a new airport. And that would be, when would that be? That would be the 70s, I went. I used to do a lot of stopovers there, Peter. My mate lives there now as well.
Is that
he works
right?
for the Hong Kong Jockey Club. There you go.
Right, wow, there's a wee insight into it. A lot of people obviously have said in the feed here they thoroughly enjoyed the show, so thank you very much. There's so many compliments. I could read all of them out. We wouldn't be able to get into talking about the Rangers game tonight, and also the rest of the other issues that are dominating the football. So Messi is going to bow out in the World Cup final. I was just looking at his... I'm going to ask you the ultimate question that I've asked everybody else on the show. He's a joint top goal scorer with Mbappe at the moment. He made his debut at 18 in 2005, scored 97 goals in 172 games. But here's the key to all this. La Liga, Copa del Rey, Super Copa de España, Champions League, Super Cup, FIFA World Club Cup, Paris Saint-Germain, trophy with them, the League One, and the Trophy de Champion. I just thought I'd throw a bit of French in there. FIFA World Youth Championship, the Olympic gold medal, yep. Copa America winner, and of course FIFA World Cup runner-up in 2014. And I'm looking at the whole thing, and 7 Ballon d'Ors.
Just the 7?
And the 4 Champions Leagues in there, and the 11 titles. Wow, the World Cup would be the ultimate part from him. I was saying to the boys, you know when Barcelona, a player leaves and they just put all the trophies out behind him and take a photograph? Can you imagine Messi's pick?
Incredible, isn't it? See when you just rattle that out like a litany.
Yeah.
You say...
Where does he move to in your list of top 5, Hugh?
Well, I'm of the opinion that I get tired of the argument because people now are getting, people get really kind of... sort of excited by it as if it's something they can prove. I mean, I read a tweet the other day, Messi scores with a penalty against Croatia, and somebody puts up, that's it. No arguments. He's the best of all time.
Yeah.
The whole thing about this thing is there's always going to be arguments. That's the beauty of football.
I think the point though is
subjective.
Hugh, it's subjective, but let everybody actually enjoy the fact that if you think he's the best player,
great.
Fine and dandy.
And by the way, if you think he's the best player, there's fantastic evidence to back that assertion. If you're going about and saying, saying something like Giroud is the best player, come on.
Yeah.
But of course he's in that argument. Of course he wouldn't be for me. I would feel, it's just probably a generational thing, Peter, that Pele and Maradona stand above the rest for me. And I think the only thing you could label at Messi, which is, I think, has any substance, would be to be the greatest of all time. Do you have to be able to have played in all times? Capable of playing in all times. And I think he would have found it really hard in the 70s and 80s.
Messi?
Yeah, I get him killed.
You think so?
Oh, God, aye. You can imagine Benetti, Tardelli, Passarella, Gokachia going after Messi.
Well, the only thing I would say in defence of that, and you've taken me off at a tangent that I didn't expect to go on. The only thing I would say about that line, Hugh, is Messi for me is, and I'm not comparing them because they're totally different in what they've won, but Messi for me would be someone that could survive on the basis that I watched Jimmy Johnson.
Johnson was different build, Peter. And Maradona was the same size, and he's a different build.
Yeah.
The thing that shocked me about Messi was going to the first time I saw him live, they took us, I think it was Rangers in the Camp Nou, might have been Celtic, but I think it was Rangers, and what they do, as a press man, is they take you in early, and they take you along the trackside, and they take you on this lift up to the top floor. And it's very early you're in. And as I was walking along, I saw this schoolboy walking along, thin and tiny, and I thought, what's he doing on the park? And I turned around and it was Messi. I was shocked at how waif-like, how elfin-like he was.
Yeah.
Whereas you would never get that feeling with Maradona or Jimmy Johnson, or even Best. There was a physicality about him.
Willie Henderson?
Willie Henderson was a strong, strong person as well.
Yeah.
Body. I mean, it's just, I don't know, I just think see what you saw what Gokachia did to Maradona. Can you imagine them doing it to Messi?
Yeah.
The elfin. If you watch, there's a great thing about England's cheating in where everybody goes on about Maradona's cheating in the '86 game, the handball. It's a great video which goes on about England's cheating in that game.
Yep.
They're actually just beating up on Maradona. And you think to yourself, God, if they were beating up Messi like that, and this has nothing to do with courage or will or conviction, it's to do with physicality. He's so elfin-like. I can't stress it enough. It would be, I think, one of the greatest things about football, one of the most wonderful things about football have been the rule changes in the last 20 odd years. No tackling from behind, punishing bad tackles immediately. You get a yellow card. You can't go, oh, my first one. No, yellow card. Referees being more protective properly of footballers. And I think I would call them the Messi rules, because Messi and other players like him really benefited from that.
Interesting one. It's a good argument.
But I would never say. I always think that when you're mentioning these players and we go on it, it's as if you're talking them down.
Yeah.
How can you watch Messi? How could you be a football fan and watch Messi for the best part of 20 years and talk him down?
Yeah. Can I ask you this then? If he wins the World Cup, does he move above Maradona? For you?
No, not for me.
No, so it's still Pele, Maradona, Messi?
Yeah, I just think Pele, you've got to remember, you're talking about Messi winning the World Cup at 37, terrific. And, again, and I'm just making a case, and people can make their case, but Pele won the World Cup when he was 17.
Yeah.
And he won it by playing in one of the greatest teams of all time, and he won it by scoring 2 goals in the final. He was a talisman for a team that included Dida, Vava, Zagallo, Garrincha. He was at 17.
Yeah.
Maradona, as I always say, Maradona, in the whole history of Napoli Football Club, they've won 2 Scudetti.
Yeah.
They won nothing before Maradona arrived, and they won nothing in Scudetti terms since he left.
Pretty close.
Pretty close, but not done it.
Yeah, absolutely. Ian Miller says they kicked Pele out of the 1977 World Cup. I must have missed that.
66 one.
Ian, I must have missed the 77 World Cup. I haven't even got the sticker album for it, but I know where you're coming from. So thank you for that. And a lot of people are kind of anti Messi, his place in it all. Gary McDowell says Messi's been surrounded by world-class players. Yeah, certainly in that Barcelona side, but he was still a standout. I think Messi's development helped enormously when he broke into that team by Ronaldinho, who was absolutely superb. Just before we move on to Rangers Hibs, Hugh, I picked. You got
it up here?
I put it up. No, I haven't yet, but I'll put it up tomorrow. I just put it up as a quick assessment, and it's open to debate. I've picked the top 11 players in the World Cup so far for me, and maybe I'm open to a little bit of tweaking here and there, because somebody will undoubtedly say to me, you've maybe missed a left back or a centre half that's worthy of it. But of the team that I picked Martinez, the Argentina goalkeeper, because I think his performances have been superb, and the penalty kick saves. I'm playing a 3-5-2, so I've picked Juranovic.
Right.
Because I think in that bombing forward role he's been great. I picked Romero of Argentina and Guardiola of
Croatia. The Leipzig player.
I know he's going to get pelters because Messi gave him the double shuffle, but he's had a good tournament. Hakimi. Yep. I'm playing my 5 and he's on the right hand side of the midfield. And Unami, who I think there will be a tsunami for his services.
Absolutely.
22 years of age, 23, fantastic. I've picked Modric, Griezmann, and McAllister.
That's an interesting one.
Yeah, I think he's been superb. And then the front 3, in fact, 3-5-2, I've picked Messi and Mbappe. I've probably actually picked, I could have thrown in Alvarez there, but it's a 3-5-2 and Messi and Mbappe are in there. I could possibly drop one of the midfielders and play 3-4-3. But of that, all of them there, I think, have had a good World Cup. Is there anybody you can think of that were
I would
missing?
go for the goalkeeper, the Moroccan goalkeeper, but I wouldn't argue with Martinez. I'd go for Bono, but I wouldn't argue with. There's nobody there that I would totally argue with. My strong point, looking at that and thinking about the World Cup, is Griezmann. I just think Griezmann's had the sort of World Cup, playing it, defensively as a midfielder and as a creator up front, that he's the player of the World Cup for me, and I don't think he'll get it because you know, particularly if Messi wins the World Cup, there's going to be. But I thought, what I like about, I think really great football players when they have a real dunt in their lives, and Griezmann had that. Griezmann, you know, from the Atletico Barcelona switch, and he's had a real dunt in that, and to come back as strongly as a team player. I've really, I watched France-Denmark live. I was privileged to watch that live, and Mbappe was just sensational. I've never seen anything like it, Peter. It was just like an explosion. It's something that just went off. But watching the game closely as you do when you're sitting there and you don't have to report on it, and you're sitting there with your son and his mate, Griezmann just like, I really was taking him. But you know what? I haven't got any. I'm just thinking, you know, I haven't got any great arguments with that team at all. Yeah,
Jimmy Duff has. He says Juranovic in front of Walker. You're talking nonsense, Peter. I've kind of edited that, but I don't mind, Jimmy, because that's the nature of the game. We love arguing with each other. The reason why I haven't picked Walker, Kyle Walker, the reason why I haven't picked him is they didn't get anywhere. No. They're out at the quarterfinals. Well, you know,
this is another. I mean, the World Cup is full of narratives, but the strangest narrative to me is sitting in it as sitting as a punter, watching the television and reading the papers, is the praise for England.
I know. I would have Bellingham as a sub. If I was picking subs, I'd have him on the bench. I wouldn't have any other England player.
Well, the interesting thing about England was that before the tournament, when we were asked who would win it, and you said to me, can they win it? I said no, for three reasons: the manager, the goalkeeper, and the centre half. And in the France game, the goalkeeper, I think, is to blame for the first goal. Nobody mentions that. I think the goalie should save Shinami's shot.
Yeah.
The centre half loses Griezmann. He loses Giroud, and he lost Giroud regularly in that match, but loses him for the winner. And the manager does nothing to change the game, and did nothing to change the game. And England's a team under Southgate, remember, that's just been relegated from the top group in the Europa Nations, and who don't really win games at the very top level. I know they beat Germany in the Euros, but we now know it's a very poor German team. But I just don't think I think the very good teams have got England sussed.
Yeah. Okay. Listen. We've done and dusted the World Cup, but we do have a competition which I think is proving to be very popular. And now that we're at the latter stages of it, it's proving to be very easy to come up with an overall, because Kerry's going to explain to you how you can win one of 6 vouchers we're giving away with our friends at Greaves and Copa.
PLZ Soccer has teamed up with our friends at Greaves Sports and Copa to offer you the fabulous chance to win one of these World Cup retro shirts if you enter our World Cup hat-trick competition. All you have to do is tell us who you think will win the World Cup, finish top goal scorer, and who will be declared player of the tournament. The person who gets all 3 correct will go into a draw to win one of 6 vouchers to choose their very own retro World Cup shirt from the Greaves Sports website. And if you don't get all 3 correct, then don't worry. You can still subscribe to our YouTube channel for a chance to win. To enter, simply submit your answers in the feed below, and if you want to double your chances of winning, then make sure you subscribe to PLZ Soccer's YouTube channel. The winner will be announced on the day of the World Cup final. Good luck.
Yeah, it's looking ever easier to pick that now, isn't it?
It's going down certain routes, and as we talk about certain narratives, you know, with Argentina and Messi, and certainly Mbappe in France, going down that way as well. It's a classic final, isn't it?
Yeah. Who's the player of the tournament?
To me, Griezmann. But right, I mean, I know he won't get it, but to me, he is.
I may as well tell you this, Hugh. You know, we had the sweep.
I know.
And there's only 2 people left in it. You know that, don't you? It's only me and McManus. I've got France, he's got Argentina.
Yeah, so the owner of the firm, right, has got one of the
finalists,
and the wee chesty cough doesn't he turn up for his work?
No,
he's another one.
That's exactly it. I mean, at the end of the day,
there's sanctions for this.
Well, there is sanctions, because what happens is when we get to the situation and everybody's got it, lots of players are getting it shortly. you have that discussion with the manager, and he said, "Look, I'm going to let you go." And he's had that about 12 times for the clubs he's played for, so he'll know it's coming.
I know it's coming.
You know, so it's as simple as that. And of course, if you look at Tam's history in his career, I've got to get him out before we get into liquidation, because he's absolutely flattened every club he's played for. He really is. Okay, let's talk Rangers Hibs. I'm really looking forward to it. I'll go with your prediction shortly, but Michael Beale has mentioned he wants to strengthen in January, but he won't be signing filler players, and I think that is the key issue here for Michael Beale. Is of the signings that were in previously, you've got a situation, Hugh, where some players just didn't even threaten the first team.
No. There is an effect, though, that Beale might come in and might turn around the fortunes of some of the players that, you know, that haven't hugely impressed. For example, he's already talking very positively about Tillman, you know, playing Tillman more as a number 10, for example. Will that get more out of him? Will that galvanise him? He's talking about Matondo as well, using him, all his pace, be a real compliment to the team under Beale. So there's always, with that proviso, that, you know, coaches can improve players. Fine. I think we've talked about this Rangers situation over the last few months, and what happened there was that, you know, 2 players left who are very, very important to the team. There's no doubt about it. Aribo and Bassi were central to the fortunes. Other players got older by a year. Goldson got injured, and
Helander nowhere to be seen.
Helander's nowhere, and Morelos and Kent have been poor.
Yeah.
That's a big chunk of your team. You know,
absolutely.
That's, you know, that you're uphill. So he needs reinforcements. He needs discussions with players. Who's he going to leave? I mean, is he going to sell players like Kamara? Will Kamara go in, as most people are saying, to give him a bit of leeway for money? So it's going to be a hugely exhausting and an exhaustive time for Michael Beale in the next few weeks.
Yeah, this is what he had to say on the January window.
I think we'll look to improve, and I would say that no one's safe, because I don't want to bring any fillers into the squad. I only want to bring people in that can start in the first 11. So I'll have my own opinion on that, which might differ from maybe the opinions 1 or 2 months ago. It's important I give everybody an opportunity to show, but it's certainly I want to strengthen the squad, and in every single position I think we can improve the squad, like most managers would say.
Yeah, he's just got to be backed up with cash for that, and also everybody's got a clean slate.
Yep, and I think it's interesting because he's making noises about, you know, Kent and Morelos are not away yet. We're going to have discussions with them, etc., etc. 2 things about that is that, you know, I'd like to be interested to see what these 2 guys thought about that point of view, and I'd also be interested to see what the Rangers fans in general's point of view about that as well. You know, should they stay? I mean, we're an interactive show, and if you're Rangers watching, would you go all out to keep Kent and Morelos, or is there time up and the club moves on? It's an interesting one.
If it was me, I would keep Kent. I would try and get a trick out of him. I would try. I think he's one of those players, Hugh, for me, that needs an arm around his shoulder. I mean, there is no doubt about the boy's got something. I like players who've got a trick. I think he's got one. But I think somewhere along the line, Michael Beale will probably get a chance to influence him to stay longer by putting an arm around his shoulder and saying, listen, you should be able to go out and destroy this team today with your skill. Go and show us what you can do.
And I think it's a pretty easy conversation to have with Kent, because all you have to say with Kent is be direct.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, you don't have to talk about low presses, inverted fullbacks, high presses. You know, just say, so when you get the ball, just have a go at them.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, listen, there are other players that might be looking and thinking, you know, are they going to be in the manager's plans? James Tavernier, the captain, said, I don't think anybody is taking anything for granted.
I think we'll look to improve, and I would say that no one's safe, because I don't want to bring any fillers in.
Yeah, we'll come back to that We'll come back to that, Clifford.
No one's safe is you know. I mean, I think he's got to come in and he's putting down his marker. I think Beale as well starts from a very good position because he comes in, he knows the club, he knows the players. There'll be players there that have got history with him, and who will be pleased to have him on board. And he'll also have his own views. People forget he'll have his own views about recruitment as well and what's got to be done. But again, crucially, it'll be, I think, a matter of who does he retain, how far he goes to retaining them, and who does he sell.
Yeah, here's James Tavernier.
Every position should not be safe, including mine, because that that makes you work harder and pushes you on even more. Because you never want to be too comfortable, because that's when you can be in a comfort zone and you're not really pushing yourself. And I know everyone's been pushing themselves, and it'll only get the best out of the team. Okay, that's Rangers. The opposition, Hibs, 6 games out of 7 they haven't won. I think I'm loath to say it, Hugh, but I've watched them on more than a few occasions. I've gone through to Easter Road on more than a few occasions to watch them. I'm not sure, I can't see anything yet. But all I would say to you is this: based on that club and their board, he's under pressure.
Of course he is. You better believe it. I was interested in Tam McManus's view of them as well, where he was talking about a couple of bad results and they'd be thinking about relegation rather than top 6. And I thought that was a pretty dramatic statement, and he's seen them a lot. Tam has watched that team and knows what it's about, so they're under pressure.
No surprise Ryan Porte is saying he's going to move on.
None at all. I mean, I think, just apart from the financial thing, which is unanswerable, and I've got no complaints about people trying to earn a better living for themselves and their family. I think career-wise he's now at a point where he has to move on, and he'll have watched players that he will think of as his peers, whether it be a Harry Souttar, whether it be a Scott McKenna, who've gone down to England and have done well. Yeah, and I think he'll think he's one of them.
I've laid a trap for you, Hugh.
Right, lovely.
And really, there's no way out of it now, because the predictor, Tam Cowan, who's on a Tuesday, has just basically mentioned to us that he's got the bit between his teeth now to try and win or get away from paying for the predictor, because it's a hefty fee at times, taking the other 5 pundits out.
I'm taking everybody.
Well, it looks that way, because I'm going to ask you right now, I've got Rangers to win 3-1.
Well, this is more, it's probably not for the viewers, but part of my self-loathing, right? Part of my self-loathing, which I'm in therapy for, intensive therapy for, is to lose the predictor.
Right. Which is not really a good idea for us when we're playing a competitive competition.
No, you're playing a competitive...
Because Ronnie Chapman says, Peter, I bet you a tenner Hugh goes for a draw against Rangers tonight.
Well, I think Rangers will win tonight.
Yeah,
they'll win comfortably.
Yeah.
But in my predictor, I'll put 1 each. I think Rangers will win.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, to make a case for Hibs tonight is really to be back in, you're back in intuition or something like that. You can't be back in facts. I mean, the Hibs are rotten at the moment.
Yeah, absolutely. So, across the city, Hearts obviously have revealed their financial figures, and here's what they've gone through over the past year. As you can see from the AGM, they've got record hospitality sales, significant gate receipt income, generating costs increased by 60%, turnover 14.9 million, 90% increase on the previous year, earnings before interest 3 million, profit before tax 1.7 million, net assets of 24 million. Everything looks rosy in the garden, Hugh. Well
done to them, because they've been through a really tough time and they've had to rely on outside help. Probably most obviously James Anderson, formerly of Bailey Gifford. They've had to rely on Anne Budge, and they've had to rely, most importantly, on the supporters, who have really stepped up to the plate in terms of season ticket, in terms of merchandise, in terms of the trust. So good on them. It has been a wonderful turnaround. I was there. I was there on Sunday at Tynecastle, and the only thing I'll have to say derogatory about Hearts is the press box is like, it looks like one of these obstacle courses for Jus Sans Frontières or It's a Knockout.
Yes.
I don't know quite how you get into that press box and how you can watch a game from it, but apart from that...
Yeah, I have to take your point on that, Hugh, and I don't know if it was... And I don't know if they consulted... I am led to believe they consulted a major broadcaster on putting that press box. But if that's the case, then the broadcaster that they spoke to, all of them were a size 6. Because it's very difficult to get into. The Perspex boxes in front of it are ridiculous. And it was crying out, that stadium, for a half-decent box. See, when you go to Europe...
no.
It puts them to shame, honestly. I mean, Madrid's press box is to die for, and the Wi-Fi actually works. I looked at it at one point, I went, wow, 4 bars. That's outrageous. I think there only are 3 bars. They had 4 bars.
It's like Scotland, though. Is it the only place in the world where you definitely can't get a phone signal? There's Amazonian indigenous people sitting in a tree in a forest at the moment, checking live score. But the only place that you definitely can't get a signal is the BT stand at Hampden.
Yes,
absolutely. You definitely can't get a signal there.
You could make it up. And of course, a lot of clubs, maybe the press are not high on their priority. But listen, we can all take it in the chin. Thankfully, we go out and do a job, and Kerry Pollock was out there at Tynecastle.
Here at Tynecastle Park this morning, Heart of Midlothian held their AGM where shareholders were able to ask the Hearts board about any questions or raise any concerns they might have had about the way the club had been run over the past year. Last year, Hearts became the largest club in the UK to be predominantly fan-owned when Anne Budge handed over control to the foundation of Hearts, which means over 8,000 members were able to ask any questions about any elements of the club they feel needed any changes. I spoke to the CEO of Hearts, Andrew McKinlay, about the way the club had been run over the past year. He says if an AGM was going to go well, it was going to be this one, after securing 3rd in the league last season, getting to a Scottish Cup final and of course securing European football. From that European campaign, the club earned £5 million. I asked him how he felt he spent that money, and he said the decisions that the club made were very wise.
Our budget was always worked out on the basis that we would have a certain amount of money, and it also was done in a way that we're very conscious that if you bake in too much in the year that you've got that money and then you don't have it the following year, you could be in a bit of a problem. So you've just got to be a bit canny with it, but at the same time, I think we did invest wisely with the extra money that we had.
And as we approach the January window, and with an already rather large squad, I asked to bring in some new faces. Will anyone have to leave?
No one has to leave, no. We are looking at hopefully bringing in a couple. Others may go out who, if there is interest, but we've had no interest in anyone at the moment, so we're certainly not actively looking to move anyone out.
Tell you, if you're a Hearts fan, you're feeling good.
Absolutely, and if you're Andrew McKinley, you're feeling good. His last 2 jobs was the SFA and Scottish Golf, right, which were 2 frying pans, and he's come into that job which had the potential to be another frying pan, and here we're looking at it and saying, that's strong figures, that's good figures. Now, of course, like every other football club, once the figures are passed, the fans will pass on and say, right, the team's got to get sorted, and we've got to win this title. The title I call the 3rd place, because they can't do any better than that. No. So they've got to win the 3rd place title, and that'll be a challenge.
Yeah, Dan says here, Hearts are propped up by that investor. It's a false economy. Dan, that's the way football's run at the moment. It's being propped up by a number. I mean, when I spotted the new owner of Bournemouth, Hugh, I look at the way the structure is in the Premier League in England. Multi-billionaire owners. Some states own clubs. It can all go, as they say, Pete Tong, if one individual suddenly just decides enough is enough.
I see the lad's point. It's James Anderson to whom he's referring, and I can see that. But James Anderson didn't give them £5 million from Europe. Hearts did that. Yeah. James Anderson doesn't give them 8,000 in the foundation. Hearts fans do that. So there's, everything, over the last few years have been soft loans, there's been gifts, etc., etc. We know that. but there is a financial footing that has been established. And you can't argue with third, you can't argue with a cup final, you can't argue with, I don't know, it's 18,000 season tickets, it's a big season ticket base, and you can't argue with qualification for Europe. It's been a very, very good run of events, both on and off the field for Hearts.
Yeah, absolutely good news there. This statement came out today. We'll talk about in fact, let's talk about the other fixtures, Hugh, because we've all gone through our predictor, and I put them all together. Here's the fixtures for the rest of the weekend. I'm looking forward to it because I'm heading up to Pittodrie to see Aberdeen against Celtic, but Rangers against Hibs. I've given my prediction on that one. Aberdeen against Celtic at Pittodrie. I've gone Celtic to win 3-1, despite the fact that Aberdeen, I think, are a club that at home play well.
They do, and Jim Goodwin's getting a sense of them now. He's getting had that really weird result against Dundee United, didn't they? But by and large, the results have been pretty consistent. I think in Miofsky, they've got somebody that, Jim's making noises that he'll keep him for the season.
Which is great.
Which is terrific. But I think people come in from in January. I think he's that good. I think he sticks out in that team.
Yeah, what's your prediction?
I think Celtic will win, comfortably.
I've gone for Hearts to win 2-1.
Against Kelly?
Yeah.
I think Hearts will win comfortably as well. I think Kelly's got a really difficult second half of the season, I think.
And if you were ever looking for a club that could do with some more fans that are not travelling to Celtic and Rangers, it's Livingston. David Martindale's done a great job. I've got them 1-0 over Dundee United, and I think Dundee United have got a lot of soul searching to do in that January transfer window.
Dundee United and Kilmarnock would be the two teams that I would say would be most at risk of 12th and 11th, if they say.
Yeah. Motherwell and St Mirren and Ross County and St Johnstone, I cannot separate them, Hugh. I've gone for a draw in both of them, 1-1.
I think I may have gone for a draw in both of them.
Yeah.
I think Ross County are up on the up, but St Johnstone, what I like about St Johnstone is Callum Davidson steadied the ship after a difficult season, and the way he's adapted as well. He's gone for, by the way, he's gone for nothing less than entrenched. So let's go and see him win games. Let's see if we can play Nicky Clark and Stevie May up front.
Yeah.
Let's see if we can play Middleton. Let's see if when Witherspoon come, let's be quite proactive. So they've switched.
I wonder if somebody will come in and buy them. It looks like a good club, well run. And the history of the last 5 years has been superb.
And they've got
it's always about a fan base, and they might look at the cold light of day and say,
where do you take them? But financially, they're one of the most secure clubs in Scotland. No debt, money in the bank, sellable assets, low running costs, not a huge budget, and a very good manager, by the way.
Yeah, absolutely. Sean Maxwell says UEFA are going to take the 12 teams that wanted to play in the Super League to court next year. They may well do that, Sean, but the one thing I would say about the latest story that's come out with regards to the Super League is from UEFA on the European Super League that was proposed, and there's a lot of clubs still interested in it. UEFA welcomes today's unequivocal opinion of Advocate General Rantos, which is an encouraging step towards preserving the existing dynamic and democratic governance structure of the European football pyramid. The opinion reinforces the central role of federations in protecting the sport, upholding fundamental principles of sporting merit and open access across our members. Football in Europe remains united and steadfastly opposed to the European Super League or any such breakaway proposals which would threaten the entire European sports ecosystem. Now, fair play to them. Obviously, there may well be a court case, as Sean predicts, but the one thing I would say on this is, yes, the structure looks as if it's going to be in place. The European Super League is based on, by the way, quite a few of them are in major debt. We need to find money from elsewhere because of that imbalance in England. But even with that, I still think UEFA have created an imbalance within the structure of this pyramid that favours the 5 big leagues, and I think they have to have a look at that.
Absolutely. You only have to look at the history of football. You only have to look at the Premier Tournament tournament by far would be what I still call the European Cup, and now it's called the Champions League. which is a travesty of what it once was. It allows clubs into it that should, you know, that are fourth and fifth in their domestic leagues. It actively discriminates against champions in other leagues.
Yeah.
So give us peace, Europe, UEFA.
Yeah.
I mean, the funniest line in that was when football remains united, etc., which was paragraph 3. Football remains disunited. That's what this is all about. This is why it's going to court and you're getting judgments. I think what will happen is there'll be a compromise, because for the biggest clubs now, their decision is going to be, are we going to do this with UEFA or are we going to do it without UEFA?
Yeah.
Are we just going to break away? Are we just going to say, do you know what? You keep everything. We don't want domestic league, you know, like the nuclear option.
What you mean, the live golf option?
Yep. And I think that is, I don't think that is as outlandish as people think it might be, because the amount of money that's going to be, it's going to be parlayed for a live golf, you know, European Super League is outlandish. Will be billions and billions of pounds, and you wouldn't need a domestic setup to underpin it. So that's the nuclear option out there. I think there'll be an option in between. The super clubs, as I call them, and UEFA will come to a further accommodation that helps the super clubs even more, and that really saddens me, because I was brought up in an era where Benfica, Celtic, Nottingham Forest, Ajax, Porto, Steaua Bucharest could win the Champions League. If you said any one of them could win the Champions League now, you'd be drowned out with hoots of laughter.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%, Hugh. I really would like to see, you know, the smaller clubs still have that chance to look back on legends who have won the European Cup. But the way it's going at the moment, I think we're actually of the opinion that it's just all about the big clubs, even although UEFA has survived it. Thanks to lots of people. Scully in Michigan, thank you. Great show today. Michigan. Well, I was going to say,
it'll be cold in Scotland.
Is it colder than here?
No, might be a bit.
Yeah,
maybe a bit.
It's cold here, Hugh. And I must admit, I'm going to make the journey to Aberdeen, and today, thankfully, because of fast delivery, I had thermal socks, 12 pairs, and the new, what do you call them? Long johns. The new long johns and the new heated jacket, and I've got to charge the battery, and I'll be heading to Pittodrie, and I could be absolutely roasting when I get into what looks like a very I will be, and you know where I'm going, where the glamour of football has seduced to me on Saturday, the capricious wiles of the football gods will take me to Benburb, but with Kilburn Leeds side on Saturday. That's where I'll be heading. Honestly, is that on your Daily Mail column? That'll be the man. Hopefully that game, it's a 4G surface, so hopefully it gets the go ahead, and old Shuggle toddle up to that on Saturday. Brilliant, because we love our football right across the board. I did actually promise that I would be going, as I often do, Hugh, to every club around in the Premier League to make sure we get a real sense of how teams play, and I've been to all of them, even up to Dingwall. I haven't actually met Jan the Staggy, but I'm almost certain after a lovely Christmas card to both Ruffy and myself, I will meet her up there at Dingwall in one of Ross County's games. Before we go, the question was, there are 6 players who have played at 5 World Cups, Hugh. Messi's obviously one, and along the way there are 2 or 3 that I think are easier to get in our question. And one of them is Lothar Matthäus. Yep, because he's played him and Messi now, I think, are for most games, aren't they, in the tournament? And the other one is, of course, your man that everybody, some like him, some hate him. Who's that? Ronaldo, the Portuguese Ronaldo. Because it only takes 16 years to play 5 World Cups. Yes. Rather than everybody always thinks it takes 20 years, but it actually just takes 16. So Ronaldo and Antonio Carvajal.
Yeah, he was the Mexican?
Portugal.
Portugal, Carvajal.
Yep, and the other two are Mexican. Andres Guardado and Rafael Marquez.
Marquez was a wonderful centre half.
Yes, played for Barcelona.
Yep.
So there you have it. There's the 6. Did you get them?
I wouldn't.
No, I wouldn't have got them. I got maybe Mateus.
3.
Yeah, but the rest of them, the Mexican ones, were certainly a problem to me. Anyway, it's all about football knowledge. Some you have, some you don't. We'll take it on the chin. If you get a chance, look back at some of our great unique video content that's on PLZ Soccer's YouTube channel. If you download the PLZ Soccer app, you get all the breaking stories at your fingertips, and you can actually watch the programme. So if you were out and about one day and you thought, I'm pretty bored wherever I am, bang, you can watch the programme at your leisure on your phone, and you get all the breaking news stories. Go on the app. I think you will enjoy it. And over and above that, the website is there for you. It's got a shop with some classic legends on t-shirts and canvas and prints as well, that I'm sure you will enjoy. And coming up, not only will we have after the 23rd the best of this season programme, we'll also bring you the best of 10 years, because it's actually, I think it was yesterday, we launched our programme, me and Ruffy, and then 2 weeks later, Hugh, you joined the team, and we were there for 10 years. And we're still here.
Testimonial now for the old shug.
Absolutely. So we'll get the best of 10 years and some great interviews in there. And by the time you get to January, you'll realise, hopefully, fingers crossed, for the next 10 years, there's even more to come. So hit the subscribe button. It's unbiased, unmatched, and it's on 4 till 5, 5 days a week. And there's more programmes to come. Join us tomorrow if you can. Thanks for watching today.